G'day everyone, I'm Dr. Peter Price of Classroom Professor. Welcome to this video, which is number 44 in our series, and the topic this week is converting fractions, easy level. So these worksheets go together with our brand new software called Classroom Professor Gadgets Fraction Converter. Now the software itself goes well beyond what we're going to look at today. This, as it says in the title, is the easy level. So it's really an introduction to different ways of looking at a fraction. The software goes beyond this to connect common fractions with decimals, percentages and ratios, and gives the teacher a whole suite of tools that you can use to show those interconnections and the correspondences between those different fractions. But today we're going to look at a topic I introduced last week, which is about how do we represent fractions in different ways. And if you've got the software, it will follow the use of the software so you can actually demonstrate all of the things that I'm talking about today using the software. So I'm going to start with the resource again. We'll start with the whole. As I've said in another video, it's important that students realize that every fraction that we refer to, that we record, write down, draw pictures of, whatever, is in relation to a whole. So we have to state or at least imply what the whole part is before we go any further. So this is the whole that is the basis for all of our fractions. Let's look at a simple fraction. We can record this fraction in a number of different ways. One is to look at a diagram like this. One is to look at a symbol. Sorry, I should stop using the blue pen. Like so. One is to record the fraction as a name. And another one, which I didn't mention last week, is to find it on a number line. So I'm going to use this magnetic number line, and if I mark this as the 0 point, I mark the opposite end as the 1 point. I'm using this differently from what I did with it last week. We now have it's really an analog representation, so it's a physical representation of a quantity, a bit like a scale, like a speedometer in a car, that sort of thing, where it shows along a scale, this is how much you've got. So the question would be now, the fourth representation, can you find this fraction on the number line? This is perhaps an unusual sort of task for students. I think more often we show them pictures and we ask them for symbols and words, but we want to add a fourth one to this, and that is to say, do you know where the number 1/4 is in relation to nothing at all and 1 whole? Just a little anecdote. My wife was teaching a year 6 class, and she had a number line like this for the students and said, I want you to find a certain fraction. And one of the students said, that's ridiculous, it won't fit, because your number line only goes up to 1. And it was a real revelation for the student to find out that any fraction that is a proper fraction fits between 0 and 1, and you can find any fraction at all between those two numbers if you know where to find it, sort of thing. So for 1/4 or 1/4, we're going to have to talk to our students about dividing this length here, this space, into exactly 4 equal pieces, and so we can talk about the halfway point, and then we can make 2 more halves of halves, and then we can find our quarter, which is here. So we might say that's where the quarter is. Okay, so there's one example. Let's switch to a different fraction. And so we can say to our students, how do we write this fraction down as a symbol? Of course, there are 7 of those pieces, so this will be... Now, I resist the temptation to call this 7/12. I've noticed a lot of my students at university level calling this 7/12. I think that is very unhelpful because it doesn't refer to the size of the fraction, it doesn't correctly name the fraction and so on. So I just offer that as a comment. And there's our name of our fraction in words, and then we'll look on our number line, and again we're trying to find this amount on a number line between 0 and 1, and so we would help our students see this is a bit more than a half. 6/12 is clearly a half. There it is. This is a bit more, it's not a lot more, so you might just sort of guess a bit and say it's here, we could divide it into 12 pieces, but we're going to say that 7/12 is somewhere like that. So that's the basic process, that's the basic task for students to do, and that's what's contained on the worksheets. It's a matter of the students becoming familiar with all 4 of these representations and being able to produce any of the 4 if we give them some of them, or typically we'll just give them one. So we'll say, here's a symbol, can you draw a picture or shade in part of a circle or a square? Can you write the name of it? Can you find it on a number line? So it's important that students develop that flexibility and fluency to be able to move between those different representations. That's it for this week. I hope the video has been helpful, and I'll talk to you next time.